Welcome to the original Yearbook podcast, brought to you by your local Midwest Yearbook representative, Jamie Silver, proudly representing Herff Jones Yearbooks. Jamie shares his lifelong passions for yearbook and photography to bring you inspiration, how-tos, and timely reminders to support your publication. Please sit back, enjoy, and remember to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss future episodes.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome back. I hope you had a wonderful holiday break. Welcome back to school and welcome to the January episode of the Yearbook podcast. Now, as usual, I'm sharing some demonstrations on the podcast today. There's 4 demos today, and if you look below, you'll be able to jump ahead to the topic that you might find most helpful, so feel free to jump ahead. Now, to start, we're going to talk about adding photo into text. So I'm going to give a quick demonstration here. It's about 3 minutes, as you can see, and I'll be right back.
In this tutorial, we'll look at another of the cool graphic effects that you can do inside of eDesign, and that's placing photos inside of text. In this example, I have a headline set in a larger font size in sort of a thick, chunky font. And for placing photos in text, it's going to work best if you choose a thicker font set at a larger size so that you have enough of a shape that will allow elements of the photo to be seen through. So I have my text set here. In this example, I have the text set in AHJ Seriffic Bold at 100 points. You may notice if you go to the font size menu that the largest size listed is 72 points, but you can select the value and type in any value up to 127 points. In this example, I'll enter 110 points and hit enter or return on the keyboard. So I have my text set here, and I'm going to go up and select the text frame with the selection tool. Then I'll go over to the Object menu and choose Convert to Shapes. When I choose Convert to Shapes, it's going to take the live editable text and change it into the shapes or the forms of the letters. So now I have the paths that make up each of these letters. I'll reposition it slightly on the page. And now it's like an image frame, and I can scale it up or down. And if I hold down the Shift key when I scale it, I can make it larger or smaller while keeping the proportions the same. Now I can go over to my image library and find an image that I'd like to place inside this headline. In this case, I'm going to use this picture of the grass of the football field. It's going to work best when placing photos inside of text if you use a photo that has a texture or a pattern or lots of small elements, like a group of faces at the crowd at the football game, so that you can see individual elements through the different letter forms. So I'm going to use this picture of the grass. I'll click and drag it over and hover over the word Knights, or the form of the word Knights. You'll notice that when I hover over the shape of the letters, I get this blue highlight around the outside. If I'm not actually over one of the letters, you'll see that the blue highlight goes away. The image will only be placed in the letters if you have that blue highlight around the letters. So hover over one of the letters, get the highlight, then release the mouse button to drop the photo inside the letter forms. Now that I have the image inside, let's add a couple of other things to help it stand out. I'm going to select it, come down here to the bottom, and I'm going to add a stroke weight of about 2 points to this shape. And I'm going to change the color to something a little more vibrant so that it will stand out on the screen. You'll now see that it has this orange 2-point stroke around the outside of the shapes, and that's helping it to stand out a little more. I'm going to select it again and come down to the FX button and choose Drop Shadow to apply a drop shadow to the object to help it have a little bit more separation from the background. So it's a pretty simple process to put a photo inside of text in eDesign. Let's just review it quickly with this other headline element. I'll select it, go to the Object menu, choose Convert to Shapes. I'll reposition it just a bit here. Then I'll find the image that I want to use, drag it over, get the blue highlight, and drop it in. Once the photo's inside the frame, you can still manipulate it just like you would any other image in Image Frame. Double-click to enter Picture Manipulation mode, where you can scale and reposition the image inside the frame.
So as you saw, that's a really cool effect to put the photos in text. It's also one of those that, you want to use sparingly so you don't distract from the book too much. So something to maybe consider on the cover, end sheets, perhaps dividers, but It's a really cool feature if you use it sparingly. So I just want to kind of show you how that's done. Any questions about that, do let me know. Now, the next topic I want to share with you along similar lines, but this one is about creating compound shapes, because whatever shapes you can create using the built-in tools, you can combine into one compound shape and then do some pretty cool stuff. So I'll show you this video. It's about 2.5 minutes long, and I'll be right back.
The Compound Shapes feature in eDesign allows you to take multiple shapes and combine them so that they function as a single graphics frame. For this example, I'll use the Rectangle tool to draw a rectangular shape. I will then select it with the Selection tool, copy it, and then paste 2 copies of it. I'll now select and position the copies. I'm going to pull down a guide so that I can easily align the top edges of these frames. I'll now hold down the Shift key and click on each shape with the Selection tool. Holding down the Shift key while you select items allows you to select more than one object at the same time. You have to select more than one closed shape before you can use the Compound Shapes command. Now that I have the shape selected, I'll go to the Object menu and choose Compound Shapes. These frames have now been merged so that they will serve as a single graphics frame. I'll go to the Image Library, locate an image that I want to place, and then drag and drop it on the compound shape. Now the image is appearing through these 3 shapes that have been compounded together. You can compound any number of closed shapes in eDesign. These could be shapes created with any of the shape tools or closed shapes created with the pen tool. As another example, I have this arrangement of circles. I'll hold down the Shift key and click on each shape to select all 3 at the same time. I'll now go to the Object menu and choose Compound Shapes. I can then find an image and place it into the compound shape. The compound shape functions like any other graphic frame in eDesign. I can double-click to enter picture manipulation mode, then scale and resize the image inside the frame. If you decide that you want to rearrange the shapes after you compound them, you can uncompound the shapes. In order to release the compound shape, you'll need to first remove the picture that is inside. I'll double-click to select the photo inside the frame, go to the Edit menu and choose Delete. Then I will go to the Object menu and choose Uncompound Shapes. I can now rearrange the shapes, then select them all, go back to the Object menu, and choose Compound Shapes again.
So similar to the photo in the text, having that compound shape and putting photos in it is also really cool. Again, if you use it sparingly, you don't want to overuse it. But it's a really cool tool. And as Mark said there, any closed shape, so whether it's the pen tool for a freeform shape or any of the tools, the shape tools that you saw Mark use there, you can then combine into one compound shape, add photos to it and such. So it's a really cool option. Again, any questions, do let me know. Moving on to the next topic. Now this one isn't as exciting as the last 2. Often when I'm doing a live demonstration with students and we look at compound shapes or photos in words, it's one of those it's kind of a cool thing. This one isn't nearly as exciting unless you've tried doing this by hand. Then this is the best thing ever. So this is something I get questions on or often observe when I'm working with students in schools where we're trying to align various objects on a page. That could be 2 photo boxes, it could be 20 boxes, it could be text boxes, it could be really any element on the page that you're trying to make aligned perfectly, and you're zooming in, zooming out. You're trying to do it visually, you're trying to do it by guides and snap to guides, which also works. But Mark's going to show you here in this little demonstration another way of doing it that's really cool, as well as distribution functions. And hard to explain, it's really cool to see. So I'm just going to show you this here, and I'll be right back.
We'll use this collection of shapes to illustrate the align and distribute functions, but these same functions can be used with any objects in eDesign, text frames, shapes, images, etc. To use the align and distribute functions, you have to select more than one object. So with my selection tool active, I'm going to hold down the Shift key and come and click on multiple shapes. In this case, I'm going to click on all 5 of these shapes to select them all. I want to zoom in on those so we can see them a little easier on screen, so I'm going to go over here and choose to zoom in at 100% on these objects. With more than one object selected, you'll see in the control panel at the bottom these set of options, which are your align options, and these set of options, which are your distribute options. Let's look at the align options first. If I click here, it will align the left edges of the selected objects. So if I click, they'll be perfectly aligned down along their left edges. I'm going to undo that. If I click here, it's going to align their right edges. I'm going to undo that. If I click here, it's going to align their horizontal centers. If I click there, now the centers of all the objects horizontally are perfectly aligned. I'm going to move down here and look at this other group of objects. This time, instead of holding down the Shift key and selecting, I'm going to click and drag. And as I click and drag, anything that I touch with this selection box, when I release the mouse button, will be selected. So now all 5 of these shapes are selected. If I come down here and choose to align the bottom edges, they'll be perfectly aligned. Undo that. Align their top edges, they'll be perfectly aligned. And align their vertical centers. Of course, they're already aligned along their vertical centers, but let's do the top edges and then the vertical centers. You get the idea. Now let's move over here to this side of the page and this other set of objects. These will be used to illustrate the distribute options. The distribute options are a little harder to understand in some ways, and the 2 that are most helpful are distribute vertical centers and distribute horizontal centers. The others have some specialized uses in certain cases, but in most cases they're not all that helpful and we won't really pay much attention to them. Let's just focus on distribute vertical centers and distribute horizontal centers. And these functions are going to be most useful when you have shapes or objects that have an equal height or width. In this case, I have 5 equally sized squares, and I would like these objects to be distributed across the top of my page evenly so that they have the same amount of space in between each one. I could try to do the math in my head and move them around and try to make them perfectly aligned, but using the distribute function is going to make this a lot easier for me. The first thing I'm going to do is place one shape in the furthest direction to the right I would like it to be, and then I'm going to place the other shape in the furthest direction to the left that I would like it to be. Then I'm going to select all the objects. It's going to make it a lot easier if we align their top edges, so I'm going to click on Align Top Edges, and then I'll come over and use this option right here, Distribute Horizontal Centers. And when I do that, all of the objects are perfectly distributed along their horizontal centers so that there's an equal amount of space in between each one of these shapes. I want to illustrate that more on a vertical axis now. So I'll place one object in the topmost place that I want them to be distributed, and I'm going to take one and put it in the bottommost place that I want them to be distributed, and then I'm just going to place the other ones somewhere in between. Now when I select them all, I'm going to align their left edges, and then I'm going to choose this option, Distribute Vertical Centers. And now they're perfectly distributed along their vertical centers so that I have an equal amount of space in between each object vertically.
Again, if you haven't tried doing that by hand, that demonstration might not be that exciting, but if you have, boy, aren't those buttons amazing. They really automate, especially distribution or just alignment of objects on a page. So feel free to use that. If you have any questions, do let me know. But if you hover over those little buttons at the bottom, they always tell you what they are. And as Mark illustrated, those last 2 in the middle for distribution are the most commonly used ones. So I hope that helps speed up some of your work if you're trying to align or distribute various things on your pages. Now for the last demonstration of today, it's not really a demonstration, it's a video that I'd like to leave with you in closing of an inspirational story. It's part of our Believe in You series, and this is the first episode of season 2. So I'm not sure if you've seen this yet, but I want to share with you. It came out in September, but I wanted to highlight it and share with you. I'll leave with this. So thank you for watching. I hope you have a great day. And as always, if you have any questions, please do let me know. Thank you.
I'm Kevin Atlas, and I'm bringing some of the most successful, most inspirational human beings on this planet into your classrooms. They beat the odds, they overcame adversity, and through that, they found a way to believe. I've partnered with Varsity Brands to provide the answers, the blueprints. I have this heart that bleeds for the youth of this country. So I fight as a soldier for change, and I want us all to learn to lead, and not just to elevate ourselves, but to elevate each other. I'm looking for students nationwide to take action from what they learned from this series. This is how the world changes. It starts with you.
So on November 8th, 2018, it was just a regular day, school day.
6 a.m. I went to work because I'm an early bird. It was going to be a great, beautiful day.
The sky actually looked pretty for a little bit, and then I get closer and I realized that it wasn't clouds, that it was actually smoke.
They came in and said, "Oh, there's smoke, there's smoke." So I went outside and I saw the smoke coming.
And then I get a call from my best friend on my way to school, like, "Hey, it's really bad down near the school, the smoke, there's ash falling." And so I got to the school, and then the principal gets on the loudspeaker announcing that everyone goes home, evac.
And the traffic was insane on Skyway already, like no one could get out.
Every road I tried to go down was started catching on fire, so they turned us back into Paradise. It took me 7 hours to get out of town.
It was all up in flames. The cops were yelling out at us to get out. Basically, what are we doing here? Get out.
I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die in a fire. I'm really scared I'm gonna die. That's all I kept thinking, and if I'm not supposed to die, get me out of here, please. CDF stood in front of the fire, and then they just drove us straight through the fire. They just said, "Go." And we had to drive through the fire to get out. And we did. Everybody drove as fast as they could to get out.
We made it out safely, but some of my family's still back there, so we waited at least 5 hours trying to hear from family in that parking lot. And I was calling friends, and we were hearing rumors our high school burnt down, this burnt down, we were hearing so many bad things.
For me, it happened like that. I went to school, it was a fine day, everything was fine, my life looked normal, and boom, just like that, within an hour, everything changed.
It was one of the worst fires in the history of California. 18,000 structures burnt to the ground. Over 150,000 acres destroyed. Over 50,000 people evacuated.
It's the most bizarre feeling when you drive around Paradise. And the devastation wasn't just of our town, it was our community, it was my friends, it was the things I did every day, the gathering places, the walking into a store or restaurant. I knew most of the people who worked there. You get to know people, it's a small town.
Can you imagine overnight losing everything you own? The kids of Paradise lost their homes, some lost their family, some lost their friends, beloved pets, but there was one thing that remained, their school.
Well, I think that the first responders did a lot to protect the high school, and everything around it is gone, but a lot of the debris that gets fired from propane tanks or just falling fireballs falls on a roof and that goes up. And they were able to put those out on the spot. They made that a priority, and they were able to save the school.
I thought the school burned at first, and I was devastated we lost our school, and then I found out it didn't burn, and that was the greatest joy of my life. That is the only place where a part of my past lives, physically, all the stuff in my classroom, and which is my second home anyway as a teacher, so.
We want what's best for kids, and we want them in school, wherever that may be.
While the school still stood, the damage from the smoke and debris would require months of repair before the facility could be made safe again. And so the entire campus relocated to an office building in Chico, California. Might be a little unconventional, but the kids and the teachers are finding their way.
We are very fortunate to have this building, and we wanted kids to have the same classes with the same teachers, with their same friends, and make everything the same as possible so they could kind of feel that sense of normalcy. And this school has everything that we had before, it's just on a smaller version. And kids are resilient, teachers have been very patient and resilient, and we're making it work.
You know, they lost their carefreeness. They lost the ability to just be okay. Some of them lost their joy, and it hurts. I hurt for them every night.
I came to Paradise High because I wanted to learn more about their struggles and to see if together we could rise again, stronger than ever before. So I started with the teachers because for me, that's who helped me the most when I was younger. In fact, I'd say teachers saved my life, 100%. It took a village to raise me. And I credit everything I do today to teachers and coaches that were there for me. Because I truly don't believe teachers are appreciated enough, starting with you guys. I know that you guys have been through quite a bit of devastation, and I know that some of you guys are probably even sick of talking about it, but ultimately, sometimes it takes the same message for these kids, just a different mouth for them to understand it. And that's truly why I'm here, because I absolutely appreciate and respect you guys, and we often take everything for granted, our schools, our faculty, our facilities, our community, our houses even, and you guys have that all stripped away from you, and you're still here. And we want to highlight that, and we want to appreciate that, and we want to show the rest of the country that, because you guys deserve, one, to be recognized for the legends that you are, for coming back, and for doing what you guys do, which was hard enough by itself, in cubicles. I know you probably all became teachers because you didn't want to work in a cubicle, but here we are. But leaders, they don't get to be leaders when everything's going well in life. Leader isn't just an act. It's not when things are going great for you. It's an all the time thing. So my question to you guys, out of my appreciation and respect for you, is what do you think these kids need to hear today? And I can sit there and I can guess and I can motivate them and I can get them revved up. I can get them to see the silver lining. I will pump your school up, I promise you today, because I know they're going through it and I've been through it too, and I'll connect with them. But if you could magically change your students with a snap of a finger, what would you change and why? That's my question to you. What do they need? But honestly, take care of yourselves and family too, because I'm already extremely impressed and honored to be speaking with y'all for what you've been through, because you guys are awesome. And if you're wearing a mask, I get you. Every one of you in this room, you're all impacted by a fire. I get it. How many of you guys had a really crappy year? Raise your hand. A lot of you. Keep your hand up if you lost your house. Keep your hand up if you moved out of town. You don't have a place to live. High school is hard enough without dealing with any of that crap, but you have each other. You have each other. You all raise your hand. You want to have an impact on someone's life, you need to step up and build a flag, because you are it. You're the example that this country needs to cure it. You might not see that in each other, but more than ever, you guys need to unite and finish this year. And we're going to give you the platform to do it. You want to make excuses for yourself? Leaders don't make excuses. Not good ones, not effective ones. You want to make excuses, you'll never reach your goals or potentials. Bite your lip every time you make an excuse, your life will change in a week. And I'm not too busy to come out here with you guys. You guys sure as heck can't be too busy for each other, especially not now. You want to be successful? Go change your habits. You guys are doing school in a friggin' warehouse. I've seen a lot of things. I've never seen this. But you're special. Embrace your nub, it'll empower you. Don't be defined by a fire. Don't be defined by your nub. Own it. You own the world.
Engrossed. They were listening to his every word because they looked at him and they said, this is somebody who's seen adversity, but overcome it. I'm somebody living through adversity. Oh my gosh, he's challenging me to overcome this. Right on. And my kids all said they felt that afterwards, that they felt so inspired by him, that they felt that they got that sort of the shot in the arm kind of thing, that boost to go, I can do this. I can do this. We can do this all together. We're going to get through this, and we can make something good out of this.
I had no idea what to expect. I was blown away by the stories he told in his life, and it gave me hope.
Recently was struggling last night with my family, I want to quit leadership. I don't sports, I'm a failure, and like it's just like a sign or something. It was perfect because I really needed to hear this to just pick myself up.
I was excited about him speaking, but the one thing he asked was, what do you think the kids need to hear? And I was so excited because when he gave his talk, he brought all those things up. I was like, yes, he listened.
How are you guys doing? Does anyone ask you that? I'm sorry, man. How are you guys doing? Because this sucks. And to be honest with you guys, you didn't choose this. I didn't choose this body. I didn't choose the state or country I was born in, and neither did you. I didn't choose my life when I grew up and how hard it was. I didn't choose any of that. You guys didn't choose this fire. It's not your fault. So you guys are just dealing with it. And honestly, just going to high school alone is hard enough these days, let alone having this kind of, barrier that you have to overcome. You guys okay?
It's lonely now.
It's lonely? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I would say the same kind of thing. Our house didn't burn down, and I kind of feel sorry for, I don't know, I wish like our house would be burned down so I could just be also displaced because all of my friends are away. Like my best friend is even not in the school.
You literally just said that you would have preferred if your house burned down because you would have been displaced with the rest of them, and then you could have seen your people. And do you see what you're saying? Do you literally hear yourself speak? Because what you're saying is people make the place. You're so blessed your house didn't burn down, but you would have rather had it burnt down so you could be closer to people, and that's what makes your school so special. And it sounds like you had great school spirit. You had it. Let's rebuild it. Let's build that back. Because if not you, then who?
This is going to stick with all of us. It's never going to leave us. And I just think we're going to be more prepared for another, if something else happens in our life, something big, we're going to be prepared for it because this is the biggest thing that I can ever imagine happening to us.
I don't think most of us would choose to go through the things that we go through. But in the end, it does make us stronger, and it does allow us to see what we're capable of and what we can do. And that makes us stronger when we have to rely on others and look within and do those things that will help us get through it.
The students and faculty of Paradise got dealt a bad hand. There's no doubt about it. But it's not what happens to us that defines who we are, it's how we deal with it. What I saw at Paradise was nothing short of amazing and inspiring. The strength, perseverance, and optimism that is running through the veins of that entire school is something we can all learn from. In high school, often we fall into a trap where we judge each other and we talk behind each other's back, we gossip. You didn't choose each other. You go to school with kids that you didn't pick. But you guys are brothers and sisters, going to the same community. It shouldn't take your school burning down to become that community. That is exactly what Paradise High School is. And that's something we should always strive for. And most importantly, that we always need to remember that we need to keep each other close and not be afraid to lean on a friend, a family member, or a community member when we need that extra push. Stronger together, always.
The Believe in You Challenge. It shouldn't take a tragedy to bring your school together. We're challenging students to attend a school activity they never have before. Swim meets, track meets, plays, choir concerts. Pick it, grab your friends, and go. Show each other that support. Post pics of you and your friends taking the challenge using #BelieveInYouChallenge.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Yearbook Podcast. Please be sure to hit that subscribe button, and as always, feel free to reach out to Jamie and his team anytime. Jamie can be reached directly at 920-965-6262 or 847-561-8525 or at jesilver@herffjones.com.